What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Ham Radio Crash Course. Welcome to Saturday. We got a fun show. We got sweepstakes going on. AWRL Single Sideband Sweepstakes is happening now, and we're going to go live into a contest station. A couple, actually. And talk to the people on the floor live. That's right. You already heard one of them. So enjoy the memes, and we'll get things kicked off here real soon. How's it going, everybody? I'm Josh, KI6NAZ. Thanks for clicking on the Ham Radio Crash Course. Today we're going to talk about contesting, amateur radio contesting, sometimes called radio sport, among other names. We have some very important people in this area, very interesting friends of mine, very cool people that are going to talk to us and explain it as what is contesting? Why would you want to do it? And why is it important to ham radio? So bear with me here as we kick things over here. Just want to give a shout out. The antenna contest is quickly drawing to an end. Basically next week, I'm picking the winners, and we have a wealth of prizes. Again, if you haven't seen it, those are just some of the antenna kits we're giving away. K6ARK antennas, Coffee and Ham Radio end feds, Chameleon F-Loop 2.0, a Chameleon end fed, and a Buddy Stick Pro. So go take the link in the description and join. No cost, just I need your email so that I can send you an email if you win, and you don't have to be there to win. Isn't that the best? It's like going to a ham fest and you can still win if you're not there. Reminder, hamtactical.com is where we have the merch store for the Ham Radio Crash Course that my wife runs this for me. She does a great job. So if you want your fun ham radio websites like Fang to keep kids off drugs, there you go. Make sure you check that one out. So I don't want to waste any time because we got a lot of folks that are going to be joining us and a lot to talk about in ham radio contesting. So I'm going to slide right over here. All right. So we got Ward Silver and what just happened? AA0Z. Kyle's in the house. Sorry, my screen just flickered. I almost lost you guys. And I think we might also have Sterling, if Sterling's there. I think I see Sterling in the room. Are you there, Sterling?
I'm in here.
All right. So
here's me.
Let's do a quick introduction. So Sterling, why don't you go ahead and tell us where you're at? You look like you're living at the party spot right now.
Yeah. So I'm at the University of Missouri Missouri University of Science and Technology Amateur Radio Club, W0AX. It's my alma mater. I graduated here in 2014, and this is what a college amateur radio station doing a contest looks like. On the air, and then there's even more out in the hallway, literally. Like you guys are just station hanging out over there, so it's busy.
That's fantastic.
A ton of people here.
All right, well, we'll come back to you in a second, Sterling, and then we've got also Kyle, and you saw Ward. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you guys are at? Where are you contesting from this weekend?
Well, we are at Ward's contesting station down in southern Missouri, and we have been here since about noon.
Yeah. Got here this morning, got it all set up.
Yeah.
Everything configured so it would work right.
And we've been on the air since 3 Central Time and putting cues in the books.
How's it going so far? How's sweepstakes this year for you guys?
Yeah, going pretty well. The conditions are not as good as they were for the code weekend a couple of weeks ago. Boy, that was terrific. 10 meters was just amazing. And we worked all kinds of hard to work spots right off the bat. This is more of a normal contest. We're having to work a little harder this time, but yeah, things are going pretty well.
Excellent. What do you think, Kyle? How are things going for you so far?
Good. I have only been on the radio for about 45 minutes. Put I don't know, 20 or so cues in the books. Had I think I got Northern Territories.
Yep.
And San Joaquin Valley, which was a multiplier, and Santa Clara. So I've got probably some more shifts in me later tonight and tomorrow. And yeah, we just rotate shifts, usually about an hour and a half, 2 hours at a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
until you actually catch fire, and then
and then you slow down a little.
somebody comes and puts you out, drags
Right.
you out.
Yep. And then we rotate it on to somebody else, and they take the reins.
Right on. Well, let's dive right into it. For we've got a lot of people on the Ham Radio Crash Course that are kind of starting out their ham radio journey. What is contesting? And we've heard radio sport among other names. We'll start with Ward. What would you say contesting is? How would you explain it to somebody starting out?
Well, it's a short contact. There are basically as many short contacts as you can make in a fixed period of time. They're all different kind of rules. You exchange some kind of information. Sweepstakes has one of the longest and most interesting messages that you have to exchange. It's the oldest domestic contest, and it originally ran for 2 weeks, and you would actually exchange full radiograms. You'd copy them on little, telegram forms and all that kind of stuff. And it's changed over the years. And now basically you give out the number of the contest, your category, your call sign, the year you were first licensed, and the ARL section where you are. And the multipliers are all the different sections. So it's really exciting when you work something like the Northern Territories up in Northern Canada or Alaska, or sometimes last time it was really hard to work Los Angeles for some reason. It
was just me. It was just me in the void screaming, "Someone work me from Los Angeles."
Yeah, there you go. You were just partying, man. So that's typically it. You get a fixed amount of time. You're supposed to make as many contacts in as many different places as you can. And the important thing is just, if you encounter one of these things on the air, you just listen for a while. You can figure out what they need. And if you ask, you say, "What do you need?" They'll walk you through it.
Indeed. Kyle, you have anything you want to add to that? Because that was a very packed answer there from Ward. I think you almost covered all of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can add anything to it. The one thing that we were talking, Ward gives a little pep talk before we start a contest on how this thing is going to go down. And one of the things in sweepstakes is, like Ward said, it's a huge exchange. And there's a lot of things that you have to exchange. And getting that out in one breath takes a big breath, and then you have to expel all of the stuff that you've got to expel, and then getting up and ready for the next contest. It takes some practice. This is not a contest of, hey, I'm just going to give my name, 5-9, my name and my section. There is a cadence to this contest that you have to follow, and if you don't follow that cadence, all bets are off. It's kind of like the chicken hit the bus,
The chicken hit the bus. Sometimes you're the chicken, sometimes you're the bus.
So maybe I'll read between the lines then. So Ward, you said a contest generally runs for a fixed period of time, and you're trying to make as many contacts as possible. So Kyle, you kind of dipped in a little bit in the how-to. You're trying to express all that information as intelligibly as possible so that someone can pick it up on the other end, but do it as fast as possible, right? And so there's a balance you're always striving to maintain there, is kind of what you're saying?
And accuracy counts. Accuracy counts in contests. You want to be as accurate, but as fast as possible.
Right. And you don't want to make it like the jabber at the end of the commercials where they go,
right. Yeah.
The other guy can't copy, And so you want to make sure you get it right, because there's a penalty if you bust something, get the call wrong or something, and you'll lose not only that contact, but a little extra. So
yeah, and for people starting out again, right, when we make a contact over HF, what are we doing? We're taking the call sign and the signal strength or the signal report, and we're matching it to a date and time. Contests usually have 1 or 2 extra fields that you have to add. In this case, a sweepstakes, I think it's you already covered it, Ward, but there's more to it, right? So you got to get all that right, and then if the 2 parties submit their logs, at the end of the contest and they match, you get points associated to it. And then it's literally like you rank based off your points, right?
Correct.
Yeah, it's like if you jump off sides football, you're not saying you're cheating. You just made a mistake, and so you had to back up a little bit.
Right.
It's the same thing.
So why should a ham, particularly a new ham, consider trying out a contest or getting involved in a weekend like this, possibly going to a college club like Sterling has, or reach out to one of you guys for this type of activity?
It's just a great way to develop your skills. It's the same reason you go out and you play sports or something. You're not necessarily trying to make a career out of it, or win money or anything. It's good exercise. You feel like you're doing something for yourself. You're learning about your station. You're learning about propagation and all this kind of stuff. It's just good practice to go out and do this kind of stuff. And then you can save the rest of the time for casual contacts or DXing or whatever you want to do. It really develops your ear.
Oh, sure.
The phone and the CW contacts really develop that listening skill. And that's good for if you're in a public service team, because you don't always get a full quieting signal. Sometimes you have to copy in the presence of noise or wind or other people. And so if you practice by doing that, you're much more effective.
Yeah, it always feels like you're literally almost in a driving race with contesting. There's, you're kind of trying to get your station, which is closest equivalent to a race car that I can think of, your antenna, your station, all working in top physical form, and then it's just an endurance type of thing at that point. And I know you guys are taking shifts, kind of like you would do with like a multi-hour road race type of thing. Yeah, I've always found that interesting in that sense. How about you, Kyle? What do you think's one of the reasons why new hams in particular should check out contesting?
It's just another avenue of ham radio, right? There's digital, there's CW, there's Parks on the Air. It's just another thing that you can do and get good at in ham radio. If you're into competition and you like if you're a younger ham and you like gaming, you'll love contesting because there's the competition aspect of it, right? And we are hopefully doing some things in the future to make it more competitive to the scoring, real-time scoring. And we've got this system called the online scoreboard, and you submit your score as you're contesting, and you can, I don't know if you'll be able to bring it up, but if you bring up the online scoreboard and click on AARL sweepstakes, you can see our contest or our station, W0ECC, and how we are doing against other stations in our class. So it's all about competition, right? It's driving competition. And if you like that, radio sport is definitely something you probably want to take a look at.
I forgot. What's the website? What's the URL? I'll pull it up.
It is online contestonlinescoreboard.com, I believe.
Okay. And
yeah, if you just search for contest online scoreboard, you'll find it.
Yeah. Contestonlinescore.com.
Got it. Okay. Yep. And then ARRL sweepstakes. I got to find that one now. Let's see.
Yep. So it's the middle. It's the last one in the red, Josh.
Oh, got it.
And if you click on that guy, that is sweepstakes going on right now. And if you take a look at, it's kind of hard for us to see, but
there. Yeah.
I think we're probably like 6th or 7th in multi-op.
What's the station again? Sorry, what is it?
Yeah, number 6. Yeah, the first one was an erroneous score that got posted somehow. So we're number 5.
We're number 5. W0ECC.
And multi is which one?
Multi is the second one down or third one down.
Third one down. Yep, and you are 5.
Right.
One more line. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
There you are.
There we are.
So you're at wow, your score is 58,812. Holy smokes. That's impressive. How about Sterling, are you there? Are you still on the Zoom?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, you've got some younger folks there. Can you maybe grab one of them that's not on the radio and ask them what they find interesting about contesting?
Yeah, sure.
Or of course you could answer it yourself too.
This is Morgan. So
hey, Morgan.
The manager at EEE. The question was, what do you find interesting in contesting? Why is it important? Why is it fun? Why would anybody want to get into it?
Yeah, so I really enjoy talking to people on the radio. This is my first sweeps, actually. So I have a lot of fun just making those connections. And I've come to like the fast-paced QSOs. I like longer things like that, but just being able to make those fast contacts, trying to get all the country or all the states and Canadian provinces, it's just a lot of fun. And it's also a good group thing. It brings the club together. We're all here hanging out, and will be until late tonight and early tomorrow morning. So it's just a lot of fun.
All right.
So how did how do you get like all of these other people in here?
Yeah. So our club is pretty active. We've got about 15 or so active members. And we have meetings every other week, and then open shack on the weeks that we don't have meetings. And we just have really built a culture of acceptance and just having a good time. No one's forced to be here. We all work on getting our licenses, help each other study, and we're all just friends. It's not just a club or an organization to be a part of. It's cliche, but it's like a family. I love all these guys.
Very nice, very nice. All right. What about you, Sterling? What are your thoughts?
Oh man, so it goes way back. I got into ham radio back in like 2007, and contesting was just kind of like something that popped up. And one day I found Ward Silver, I guess going on the way to Hamvention, and it was just like one of those things, like, oh, this contesting thing, what's that? So I hear a contest, I got a IC 746 and threw up a antenna, and I think my first contest was either the Wyoming QSO party or sweepstakes. I'm pretty sure sweepstakes because it's pretty slow paced. There's a long. And I mean, I was just hooked. Like, it was competitive. Like, that was fun. It was both competitive against other hams, but also yourself. So the first year was like just trying to learn, like, what is an exchange? What am I screwing up? Why are people yelling at me? How do I deal with the pileups? And then the next year was like, oh, this is better. And then there's more and more contests, like mini contests throughout the year to get better at your operating skills, your station management, all that stuff. And in the case of like multi-ops, I came down to Rolla here at Missouri S&T. They got a nice new sign, and learned how like a multi-op station with like literally how do you coordinate these like college students mingling around with like all of this noise, and like at the same time you have people on the air.
Yeah.
Like 1, 2, and 3 stations
That's awesome.
on the air.
Out the hall. That's super cool.
With another challenge. So that's what Morgan's doing right now, and I don't know, it's just a lot of fun. And in terms of like youth, young people who are into video gaming, like Kyle said, find contesting to be like a perfect niche for that kind of interest.
So you mentioned starting out with a simple base station. You said you had a relatively simple wire antenna. We're going to come back to that, so we'll definitely come back to you in a second, Sterling. Let's go back to Ward. What's a good way to get started, would you say, in contesting? And then we'll come back around again for a full loop.
Listen. And there's a great contest calendar. If you just Google contest calendar, you'll collide with a really comprehensive contest listing. And I think the easiest way to get started is to find some of the smaller contests and jump in. There it is. And like your state QSO party, everybody wants to work stations in your state. So you can be the station that people want to contact. They're generally slower paced, and so you don't have to go quite as fast. And then the North American QSO parties run by the National Contest Journal are also a lot of fun. They're all low power 100 watts contests. So all your exchange is your name and state, and that's it. So it's very simple, and you can work on different bands and have a great time. So basically, pick an easy, smaller contest. Just tune around, listen to what they're doing, and then give them a call after you think you've got it figured out. The contest rules will tell you what you need to exchange. So that's about the simplest way to get in. And a lot of people just tune around and they stumble on a contest, and that's how they find out about it. So.
Yeah, I'll mention really quick, based off of the contest calendar, if you click on any one of these, and these are all hyperlinks, if you click on any one of them, it'll take you to the website or the posting for that contest. And there's generally specific rules, right, that you need to follow. And they're not necessarily the same. They all have contacts you have to make, but there's a lot of uniqueness within contesting, wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
In the sense of the
uniqueness.
exchange.
The exchange.
Oh, yeah. The exchange, you find that in the rules, and that's the message that you give to the other station. Usually it's got a signal report, but not always. And there's no penalty for giving extra information. Just give it quickly, whatever it is, name, state, section, grid square. That's another one. VHF contests are real popular. And then if you want to log it, if you've got some logging software, you can keep a record and you can submit a log to the contest and get your score listed. Field day is a great way to try all kinds of different things like that.
Yep.
A lot of people get into contesting through field day.
Kyle, anything you want to add to that?
Now, the key is to know the exchange, right?
Yeah.
You know, like sweepstakes, the contest that's going on right now, we don't exchange a signal report.
Right.
Yep.
Most contests exchange a signal report, and usually that signal report is 5.9.
Mm-hmm.
We can get into the reasons why everyone is 5.9, but it has to do with cadence. You're looking for that cadence.
Yeah.
And but sweepstakes is a contest where you don't exchange signal reports. You have a whole mess of other information that you're exchanging.
Yeah, it's actually modeled on the header for a message.
Mm-hmm.
So
So the key is to know, and Ward is correct. If you don't know what's going on during a contest, always listen, and you'll figure out real quick what you should be exchanging with if you decide to jump in. What you should be exchanging.
Yeah, I had a guy call me this evening, and he said, "Well, you're 5'9" and Maryland, and you're my third contact or something, second contact." And I said, "Okay, well, you know, I need to know your power, and I need to know when you were licensed." And I explained it to him, and it said, "Here's how you would give your exchange." And he goes, "Oh, great!" And went off to make some more contacts. So.
And then he gave 5.9 Maryland to the next guy.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. But
well, please copy. Please copy.
Just
5.9
wait
Maryland.
till you find somebody who's calling CQ and not getting a lot of answers, and that's a perfect time to jump in and say, "Hey, I don't know what your contest is. What information do you need from me?"
Mm-hmm.
And they'll walk you right through it.
Yeah, reiterating field day is kind of like the best time to kind of really see it happen live with contesting. But, you know, that requires waiting to, you know, the fourth weekend in June every year. Mm-hmm. The state QSO parties are pretty good, though, for somebody starting out, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, state QSO parties are probably one of the beginner contests. That and North American QSO party, right?
Yeah, those,
your state QSO parties, you become the DX, right? Everyone is trying to contact people in your state. Now, if you're trying to work, you know, we live in Missouri, so if we are working Illinois QSO party, we're trying to contact all of the people in Illinois, right?
Right.
So, know what you're trying to contact, and that will kind of guide you in the direction of what your exchange is going to be. Also, the North American QSO party, which happens, it happens in January, February time.
There's a contest in January. There's contest in August. Those are the phone version. The ones that are easiest to get into are in January and August.
Mm-hmm.
And those are really, it's only North American stations. You can get a DX point.
Yeah, all the North American countries count. You can work anybody for credit. It just doesn't count as a special multiplier.
Got it. Yeah,
but that's another good contest to spring into, because it's your name and your state.
Yeah, and, you know, field day, you're giving out your class.
Yep.
1 Alpha, 3 Bravo, whatever, and your section. And it's not a contest. It's sort of an exercise. But there's a lot of groups that go at it competitively, and it gives you practice in trying to make a lot of contacts in a hurry, and that's what contesting is about. So there's a lot of overlap there between contests and the practice part of it. Yeah.
It's the Venn diagram.
The Venn diagram.
Yeah,
that's what that was. It was a Venn diagram.
Right. So Richie's
There you
Radio
go.
Room, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. And I guess we'll also give a shout out to upcoming 10-meter contest in December. That's going to be a fun one because 10 meters has been dynamite these last couple of weekends.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. So hopefully I'll be able to participate in that one. Today and this weekend was a tough one for me, but
the
sweepstakes
10-meter contest technicians can get into.
That's right.
If you've got a technician license, you can get on. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, indeed.
And
we'll be talking
somebody
about that.
asked, what happens if the band conditions are not good? You suffer. That's you just sit there and do it.
You hold that record button down or the play button on your voice keyer, right?
Yep. Bop, 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 it's funny when the band conditions, the solar flux is at the bottom of the cycle. 10 meters is like a VHF contest,
right?
So you're working sporadic-y
yep.
and tropo and all these other things. And then when we start getting some sunspots and 10 meters opens up, it's an amazing thing.
Yeah. DX in the morning, DX in the evening. So,
yeah.
Okay. Let's flip it over here to talking about what you need to get started. And I'm going to go back to Sterling on this one because Sterling kind of already mentioned what he started out with for contesting. And I think that's the big, when we talk about contesting, we often see these really desirable looking stations, right? Ward, we saw your antenna tower, or I'll take a picture of it and I'll show everybody. That's impressive. People want a station like that, but I don't think you necessarily have to have that to get started in contesting, right?
No,
not at all.
No, you just need a radio and an antenna and some coax. That's all you need.
That's it.
So Sterling,
100 watts and a wire.
That's right. So Sterling, let's go back to you and tell us about how you started out with contesting. What was your rig setup?
All right, I want to show you something real quick.
Okay, where are you at? You got your video on?
Yep.
I still see you.
Hopefully, I got my video on.
Oh, you're muted.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
There we go.
There we go. Hi. Hopefully, you can hear me. So, kind of to answer the question of what do you need. So, I want to come out. I'm outside of the AAA shack, which is behind me here. Let me flip the camera over. And I'll say the shack has a lot of gear in it. If I come out here and I look up here, I see a big honking antenna.
That's
but like good. This one, look at this antenna right here. It's probably really hard to see, but all it is a 10-meter dipole.
Oh, yeah,
maybe 20 meters. Right?
Yep.
And it's between these two light poles, and it goes down to this coax, and I'll go back into the door, and you can literally see them right there. So that's literally all you need. It's an antenna hung between like a tree, a couple poles, and then
you just need an OSHA violation of coax run going through a doorway.
Yeah, I don't think the numerical, the National Electrical Code allows you.
No, I don't know if that counts. Do we lose you, Sterling? Are you still there? We might have lost Sterling. Are you there? Uh-oh, he's roboting hard. He's got to go on the Wi-Fi. He's on the wrong Wi-Fi.
Okay. Hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So, like I was saying, there we go.
Oh, you're on low bandwidth, so your thing's real tiny.
Whatever. You can see.
Yes. There it is.
That's all you need. So that's exactly how I started. I had a pretty similar radio to that one, a IC746 that I got off eBay for like, I think $800. My parents, thank you. And then put a G5RV out in the trees. And, as they say, Bob's your uncle. That's all you need. So like this is an independent ham radio station. And then you go in here. And this is the one that's connected to all of the antennas on the roof and whatnot. It has the multi-operator stations, the 990, the flex, the displays, you name it. So like,
oh yeah, you really stepped it up when you went through those doors there. Yeah.
So I mean, just look how cool and like, I mean, this looks like a video game. You got the waterfall, it's the Matrix. You've got lights, you've got RGB, and then you have like a room full of people like waiting to get on the radio. And, that's what it is. That's what ham radio really is. And there's even more radios in the corner. So But really, it's really straightforward. You don't need that much at all.
I gotta say, you got a lot of people in that shack right now. How many people are in the club?
How many people are in the club?
I don't have it.
Morgan?
We've got about 15 to 20 active members.
And are they all here?
Are they all here?
I think this is all of them.
Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, there's almost.
That's
We've
pretty
got
good.
almost everyone, but not everyone's here.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Hi everybody. Thanks for being on the show. Kyle, how did you start out? Like, what was your station you started out with, or is there something different you did?
So my station, I live in the city, so my station was a portable rig. I mean, that's how I started contesting. I would take my 100-watt rig and go out and work portable for my first contest. The first contest that I ever participated was the 10-meter contest.
Yeah, 10 meters.
A long time ago. But then I remoted my station, and it has totally opened up the world on contesting. But yeah, that's how I got started. I just didn't have a big station, and I literally had a portable radio and a portable antenna, and that's how I started contesting.
So go into that a little bit. You said you remoted your station, and this is probably more towards the spending a little bit of money into this hobby kind of game. But what does that mean?
Yeah, so there are some radios out on the market that are remotable, and what we mean is putting that radio on the internet and then going somewhere else and connecting back into that radio and working stations from that remotable radio. So Flexus can do this natively. ICOM has got some software out there. Elecrafts can do this. I mean, there's a lot of different radios that can be remotable. And what we have done is down here at the contest station, just right over in the other room, I have put my radio on. We're out in the middle of nowhere in southern Missouri, and Ward has got fiber coming into this house, and we have placed the Flex radio here in the contest station, and Ward and I are able to get on from. I live in St. Louis, and he lives in St. Charles, and we are able to get on remotely. And we are now in the process of remoting the antennas and the antenna switches and all of
rotating
this.
Them back, all this.
So we're in the process of getting all the peripherals remotable, but the key was getting that Flex radio on the network and being able to play radio from another location down here with the antennas and the coax and all of that stuff as basically a proof of concept. But now we've kind of proved that out, and now we're going out and we're doing all of the other things that we need to remote the station.
Yeah, trying to get all the gadgetry accessible via the internet is highly non-trivial. But
yes.
It's a learning thing. I tell people it's like having a big race car, big amateur race car, and everybody works on it, but then everybody gets to drive too, so they're in there driving right now while we're out here.
It's not a box you physically have to lay hands on. You can connect to it as long as you have the internet, hypothetically, and it's not huge bandwidth from what I understand for remoting.
There's a big station in I think it's in Georgia or Virginia. All of the operators connect to this station via the internet. They don't go there.
Wow.
And so there's like 5 or 6 or 7 operators from all over the place that log into this thing. Hey, the guy takes a picture of all the equipment, and the needles are jumping around and all this stuff. There's nobody there.
There's nobody there. Hey, Digital Rancher, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it very much. Thank you for that. So aside from specific rules that any one contest has, and I think we already touched on this a bit, please do read the rules for every contest you participate in. There's usually a lot of unique little things in there, little caveats and things you need to know. What are the general do's and don'ts? And I'll start with Ward. What are your recommended do's and don'ts when it comes to contesting?
Well, listen. Listening is good in all phases of ham radio, whether it's contesting or not. Just listen, and learn how the other operators are engaging in the contest. And and follow their lead. You learn some basic contest etiquette, which is a little different than day-to-day etiquette on the bands. And you learn how to get your equipment together. You learn how to set it up so that you can make contacts effectively. That's the do's. That's basically it. Listen, practice, and get on the air. It's like reps, it's that wax on, wax off thing, And then as far as the don'ts go, you don't want to try to steal somebody else's frequency. You don't cheat by using too much power or too little power. You want to make sure you have a clean signal so you don't interfere with people to either side. And that's basically it. There aren't a lot of don'ts to it. It's not a very hard, difficult thing to do. You just have to get on and practice, and you'll get better with it. And that's my advice. There's a really good book on it by Doug Grant, K1DG, from the ARL, who talks about contesting, and part of that is how to get into it. So that's good.
Have you wrote a book on contesting yet, Ward?
I didn't write a book on contesting. I wrote some of the operating manual for the ARL a while back, and I wrote Ham Radio for Dummies, and it's got some stuff about contesting in there.
Indeed.
Ward is the book.
I'm the book. Yeah.
So yeah, I'll give the shout out. I'll give the shout out. Here you go. Ham Radio for Dummies right there. I'll post a link in the description, but if you just search Ham Radio for Dummies, you'll find it. And so you're telling me there's a section in here, Ward, for contesting to get people started?
Yep. Radio sport, and it talks not only about contesting, but about other forms of competitive ham radio, like working DX and chasing awards and all the other things that you can do. So
very good.
Yeah, radio sports, there's a whole lot of stuff.
Kyle, what are your big do's and don'ts?
I mean, Ward basically covered all of them. One of the things that
sorry, man.
like out off with your head. One of the things that I will suggest if you're a new contester is there are a ton of videos by Contest University.
Oh yeah.
And go out and watch like contest. I think there's one called Contest Etiquette and Contesting 101, and they talk about the ethics of not once the contest is done, you don't fix your log, you don't steal anybody's frequency, you will give the exchange that you need, you won't use more than the wattage for the rules. The whole, like, those are the basic things that you need to do. But there's also a plethora of information about contesting on which chair to get and how to have good posture.
Sure.
And when to sleep and when not to sleep and when to run and when to search and pounce. So there is a whole ton of information out there, probably on YouTube, that has already been given out. You just have to search for it and watch the video, and or come to Contest University at Dayton. That is a plethora of information if you want to get into contesting.
I was just going to mention Contest University. They changed hotels recently, right? So for anybody that wants to join us at Hamvention next year, where was it? It's at the Hope Hotel?
Hope Hotel.
Hope Hotel. You should probably get your room already if you wanted to go. But yeah, that's a lot of fun too.
It's a one-day thing, so you can show up in the morning. They have breakfast and all the way through, and at the end of the day, you're like, what just happened? And you're full of information. You get a big book with all the slides. It's really cool.
And that's a separate event from Hamvention. That's its own thing. It's at the Hope Hotel, just to remind people.
It's on Thursday.
But
Thursday before Hamvention.
That's a good point you bring up, Kyle. It is kind of an endurance thing. Obviously, you guys are on shifts right now for as many operators as you have and how many current stations, but there's still like a length of time that you're going to be in the chair, and some people just run the whole thing straight. And so things like ergonomics and even eating properly the night beforehand and all that stuff can come into it.
There's little things like I cannot wear certain headphones for more than a couple of hours before they start to hurt my ears. So you have to get like the right headphones, right? If you're going to participate in a 48-hour contest out of, you're going to run for, or you're going to participate for 30 to 36 hours.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe like the posture in your chair and your headphones and your sleep schedule. You have to think about all of that stuff if you're going to do something for that long.
Somebody asked a question a while back on the chat.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the best piece of equipment to buy besides?
Yeah, they've asked that multiple times. So we're going to get back to those in a second.
Everybody
but
says,
please, go ahead.
What do you get? A good chair. Spend extra bucks and get a good chair. You're going to spend in that chair more than an entire work week over the weekend. If you do a 48-hour contest and you get some sleep each night, you're still going to put 40 hours in, and that's a whole work week. So make sure your chair is comfortable and adjustable. And then the other thing is a good pair of headphones, and just make yourself comfortable. Ergonomics is really important.
It is. Totally is.
And that's, it's interesting too. And I think we could probably make a mention of the changes that computers have made for amateur radio, right? Ergonomics and sitting in front of a PC is important now. And having a laptop and logging on a laptop for 8 hours and it's sitting on the table, you're like looking down at it constantly and looking up and looking down and looking up and looking. That's going to just wreak havoc on your neck over time and give you a sore back the next day. So stuff like that, right? I mean, and that's, I don't want to answer the question for you, but that's not something you can read all about it. I guess you can go online, you can find the videos like Kyle mentioned, but a lot of this is trial and error and from you actually doing, right? You like you've already kind of mentioned, Ward, right?
Oh, your chair will let you know if it's adequate or not. Yeah. You'll find all the weak links in your station. And that's another reason to do contesting is it pushes your skills and your equipment, and you find out what's uncomfortable to change or track or operate or use or whatever, and you go, boy, I really need a new something, or I need to change this, I need to move this around, and all that kind of stuff, and it just makes you and your station more effective.
That's a really good point. I think I've thought about this before, but never in the context the way you're putting it is, if you're just making a couple QSOs here and there, or you're rag chewing and it's real relaxed, and you can get away with not that great of an operating position. But if you are like hammering contacts like you do in a contest or attempting to hammer contacts, you're going to find out pretty quick what the weak links are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting point.
All athletics are that way.
Sure.
You find out what you can and cannot do and what you have to work on. Contesting is sort of like doing a decathlon in the weekend. You're not only are you running, but you're also lifting, and you're doing all these different exercises as part of the operation. You have to know propagation and your antennas and your equipment and all this kind of stuff.
Very good. I think
I want to bring somebody else
please.
in here to answer some questions.
Oh, yeah. Because we are at 15 minutes before we probably wrap things up. By the way, everybody watching, we're going to have an after chat over on the Ham Radio Crash Course Discord. Thank you, Ward. Thank you. If you didn't hear me,
Ward,
thank you.
Get the microphone.
Ward's going to go off.
Hey,
make some coffee, grind some coffee beans. Make sure you join us on the Discord after chat. The link is in the description. We'll be taking your discussing talking points live. You can ask your questions live with me on ham radio stuff. Maybe some folks will join us, but they're obviously in a contest, so I'm not going to hold them to that if you're not going to be able to stick. Sit with us.
Look who showed up.
Sean Kutzko, how you doing, man? It's good to see you.
I'm doing great, Josh. What's going on?
It's fantastic to see you. So, Sean, you obviously are very active in contesting, have been for a long time. People know you often with satellite amateur radio, but right. You're still an avid contester as well, right?
That's correct. I mean, I just enjoy being on the air, and for me, the competitive aspect of amateur radio, whether it's trying to get a whole bunch of grids on satellite or make as many contacts as you possibly can during an event, it all adds up to a whole lot of fun and experience learning about your station and what your station's capabilities are, which is very, very important for every radio amateur.
So everybody that's been on this hour, I've asked them, what was your operating station when you first started doing contesting?
When I first started contesting?
Yeah.
Let's see. Gosh, what did I first? So I think back in the ancient history days, I think I was doing initial contesting with an old Heathkit HW101, which is archaic piece of gear at this point. But I also started like by the mid 80s, late 80s, I guess. I got licensed in 1982. So by the late 80s, I was using an older version of an ICOM radio. I had an ICOM 745, which had a great receiver for its era. And I had a bunch of dipoles, and I had a 4-element 10-meter Yagi up about 35 feet. And I did a bunch of contests with that simple station. 10 meters was not in good shape in the mid 1980s. So I spent a lot of time on those little dipoles with a 100-watt station. So you know, I think the 100 watts in a dipole station gets a really bad rap, because a good dipole and 100 watts is a pretty good station, considering there are a lot of folks out there that don't necessarily have resonant antennas.
Yes.
A resonant half-wave dipole does wonders. It's amazing what it can do.
It's true. And also joining us, Nancy, N9NCY. How you doing?
Hey, Josh.
How's it going? Did you? How long have you been involved with contesting? Have you been?
Me, I did my first sweeps last year.
Okay.
So this is my second one.
And you were with Sean. I'm assuming you guys were
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
I was going to ask you what was your first station, but it was, you know, Sean probably already mentioned it when, when we were talking, so I don't want to assume. Sean, I asked earlier, do's and don'ts for contesting. Do you have any particular do's and don'ts or pro tips that you would recommend to people?
Oh boy. So I just got off the air here at W0ECC. I was on 40 meters and got off the air, and we got an operator change. And I came in when Ward and Kyle were talking about station ergonomics.
Yes.
And I cannot overemphasize everything that they said. I mean, everything that they said about getting a really good chair, that is so on point. You can have the best radio in the world. You can have the best antenna stacks on the planet. But if you are not comfortable at your operating position, none of that means anything, because you're not going to use it for any length of time. Mm-hmm. So station ergonomics, do not avoid that. That is a great topic to spend time and effort and money on for any operator, no matter what your level is.
Yeah. Nancy, anything you've picked up in the time you've been contesting, your pro tips or things that you particularly liked or don't recommend people do?
I don't really have any pro tips. I'm still learning.
Well,
thankful from a really good group of people.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. So, sometimes it's as little as like, you know, I need to not have more than 5 cups of coffee in any given 24-hour period, right? Because that could totally screw me up, kind of thing. But you only learn that if you try to do like an endurance run on your own, making contacts over a weekend.
Right.
Hang tight. I'm going to go to Sterling because I didn't get to ask him what was his his pro tips or do's and don'ts. Sterling, are you there? What are your thoughts? Oh, you know what? Did we lose Sterling? No, there he is.
No, I'm
He's
still
there.
here.
Okay.
I made 80.
Let me get out of the noise.
Okay. So, do you have any do's and don'ts for people starting out in contesting? What you would recommend they try to do, avoid to do?
So, what are the good do's? The good do's are just basically practice. Get on the air. I mean, there are a lot of contests that are out there, especially if you're into CW. CW sprints are like excellent because they're like almost one every day, like on Wednesdays, Fridays, Mondays. The voice contests are a little fewer and farther in between, but don't skip like the little ones, like the QSO parties, and just, you know, don't think you need to work like the big stations, like, or the big contests like IRA UHF or sweepstakes or CQ Worldwide or WPX. A bunch of contests, and even like you know, the QSO parties like really help your rate chops. And if you really want to, like, you know, increase your rates and your scores, you know, that's how you do it. Just practice. And another suggestion I would make, like we're doing here, is guest op. Like guest at, invite yourself or get invited to a contest station. Yep. One of the things I try to do in the Young Amateurs Radio Club and Youth on the Air was a youth contesting program where basically if there was a open shack, such as the one here, we put on a database, and the local hands in the area within, you know, a day's drive or something would be able to come in and, you know, tour the shack and get on the air. That's a really great way to like get yourself into the shoes of a bigger station. And now with remote operating, I think that that's kind of overruled my idea, but you know, it's still good. And it's another challenge. Like remote operating is a whole challenge in itself because of, you know, connectivity and all that stuff. But in terms of don'ts, what are the don'ts? Basically, don't say please copy.
There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yep. don't use, basically the idea behind that is extraneous language. So like, please copy your, this, that, try to be short and to the point. Practice your, write down the exchange you need so that you can see it and know that you won't stumble over your words like I am.
Mm-hmm.
Enunciate, and you don't have to yell into the microphone. Like, you don't have to be like W0 they can hear you, like whether you're talking at a normal volume.
That's what mic gain's for, right?
Yeah. when you're yelling into the mic, it just distorts and it sounds like garbage. If you have a YL, put them on the CQ. That'll help. That'll give you 6 dB.
Whoever is sitting in the operating chair, have the YL do the voice, right?
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of truth to that.
So true.
Yep. Let's see. More don'ts. I don't know. Basically, try not to be too much of a lid. Like, there is a lot of people on the bands, and you'll hear people calling you a lid or saying like, I'm in use of this frequency. Don't fight. Turn the dial. Go to the next station. If you have a lid, if you're calling CQ and there's a lid like trying to interfere with you, ignore them as much as you can. They might go away, and if they don't, just get up, take a breath, go to a different frequency. Go search and pounce. Just change your tactics.
Mm-hmm.
Where some of these are marathons. They're not like super competitive. And if you are super competitive, then Bob's your uncle. I guess you can do whatever you want. But there's a lot of little nuance and techniques that really only come with time and practice. So I got a lot of practice here, and that's what we're doing here. You can definitely hear some of the school stations in sweepstakes are marked as you have the number and then the letter S for school.
Uh-huh.
You'll hear that they're a little bit slower. They kind of don't know what's going on, but give them patience. That's a good is to give new operators a lot of time and patience so that, everyone contests better, right? So, yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, you're going to meet a ton of different folks on the air, right? Every potential, it could be an expert, a veteran, or it could be somebody, this is their first contest at home on a mono band dipole. And at the end of the day, you want the contact, right? At the end of the day, you want the contact. Even if they're slow, fast, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah, even if they're not contesting.
That's a solid point worth emphasizing, is that the serious competitors in every event, no matter if it's a half-day thing or a 48-hour marathon, they want to talk to you.
Yes.
Right.
So if you are new at this and you are fumbling over your words or you're a little confused, don't worry about it, because any operator worth their salt will slow down their approach and their exchanging of information to your speed.
Mm-hmm.
And if they aren't willing to do that, then spin the dial and work somebody else who is. Don't sweat whether or not you are a perfect operator during a contest or not. None of us were perfect operators when we started doing this. And
That's a good point.
I fell all over myself when I started learning how to do this.
Aiden, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Says, Josh, thank you for introducing me to the hobby. I am hooked. Your videos have helped me so much as a newbie. Well, thank you. Hopefully you consider contesting. This is the way you kind of get stronger. It's like going to the gym. Contesting is like going to the gym, right? You're really strengthening your muscles. I'm going to do this. Let's take some Q&A from the chat. Guys, go ahead and repeat some of your questions, and please type question or at Ham Radio Crash Course so I can see it. Somebody asked, Alan Beckman asked, if you're running a frequency, how often should you say your call sign? I don't know if there's a rule, but do you have any thoughts on that, Sean, Nancy, or Sterling?
In my opinion, if you are running a frequency and you have people calling you at a regular rate, I try to give my call sign every, say, 2 or 3 exchanges. If there's not a lot of people calling, I give my call sign at the end of every single contact. Anything to cast that line and try to throw out my call to act as a lure to get people to call me.
Mm-hmm.
In some events, like, for example, the sweepstakes contest that's going on now, giving your call sign is part of the contest exchange. So you say it every single contact that you make.
Good point.
So
Good point.
Some events you have to do that. Other events you don't. But generally speaking, if you've got a pileup and you've got a lot of people calling, I try to give my call like every 2 or 3 contacts or so.
Okay. There was a super chat from Ryan Hayes. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Brett Glass has a great question. Tips on breaking through pileups during a contest. So you're at the starter station with your monoband dipole. How do you punch through that pileup?
In my experience, I want to let Sterling chime in on some of this too.
Yeah, go for it, and then I'll go to Sterling. Yeah.
All right. In my experience, so let's say that you're trying to talk to a really rare station and he's got many people calling him. So look at it in terms of like a bell curve. So if you've got the station says QRZ, all of a sudden you've got 500 people that call him all at once, and there's this big line and mountain of QRM, and then it tapers off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can wait a second before you give your call sign and let that cacophony of the pileup do its thing, then maybe the station you're trying to talk to on the other end will hear the last two letters of your call,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, who's that? Who's the station with X-ray? Who's that? So if you can time your calls a little bit better, that might give you just enough of an edge where they will hear the last letter or two of your call sign, and that will be just enough to get you into the pile.
Ah, very good. Sterling, yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, exactly. So my way of doing that in a practical way, so if you hear QRZ or thank you or CQ and they unkey, I'll immediately, so I'll front end that bell curve with whiskey 0, like really quick, and then wait a few little ticks, like not seconds or milliseconds. You just got to kind of feel it.
Yeah.
And I'll say echo Charlie Charlie. So it'll sound like QRZ, whiskey 0, echo Charlie Charlie.
Yeah.
Instead of whiskey 0, echo Charlie Charlie. Or, with our, we have like this like lockout thing. Sometimes I'm just forced to call at the end of the pileup when I don't want to, but then turns out like that's a perfect time. So that's called tail ending. And then another way to improve your ability to punch through the pileup is a couple ways. Clean signals are always better than dirty signals. So don't yell. Make sure your ALC is like within its bounds. Use a little bit of processor, but not too much. Don't crank the processor gain or mic gain too high.
Little compressor.
Yep. And then what else was a good one? Sometimes if I'm really needing a station, I'll elevate my voice a little bit, like going back to like the voice of a YL, calling CQ. But if I'm calling CQ, like the higher pitch just pushes through, versus lower pitch. So I was a much better contester when I was younger, and then my voice broke. So it's unfortunate, but
yeah.
But that really helps.
I've definitely been stuck in the queue, if you will, or stuck in the pileup. And I've often found that the people that you're trying to make a contact with they'll favor the first people calling or the latter people calling.
Yeah,
they seem to favor
definitely.
one or the other. And so you kind of figure it out as you're listening to the pileup that like, oh, I need to be faster or I need to be a bit slower. And I like your I do a KI6 NAZ. a little bit of lag in there. I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like
and
that.
then another one is try to zero beat on the signal or try to be as in tune to their frequency as you are. Because if you're off, you'll sound garbly. You'll either sound like, or you'll be like, and you won't be able to hear. So tune up as well as you can. And there's a whole bunch of techniques in CW. I won't go in here because most people probably get started in phone contesting. But phone contesting is the hard one actually, like because voice signals take up a lot of space.
Yeah,
it's really hard to find a signal or a frequency to call CQ sometimes. But once you do, hold the fort, call CQ, workstations, and then just get more in the log. And over time. And there's another thing I'll say, like, this doesn't have to be a race. Like, it's up to you. You set your own pace. You don't have to work about 200 stations an hour. You can just look for the states that you want to work. If you want to get worked all states, or look for specific stations or friends. Like if you're an alumni of EEE, come find us, and we'll say hi. We won't say screw off. We're trying to work a contest here. We'll say hi and try to ask for donations or something.
Yeah.
But just go at your own pace and get better over time. Yeah.
So here's another one, and I think we can all answer this simultaneously at the same time. If you participate in a contest, even for just a couple hours, is it considered good etiquette to submit a log? 1, 2, 3. Yes.
Not only that,
always submit a log.
Yeah,
it helps.
Go ahead, Sterling. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, always submit a log, even if it's called a check log, where you're working stations, but you're not doing it for points. It's called a check log. But even if you are working for points or you just work 1 or 2 stations, it really helps the algorithm, the back end, to check all of those contacts with each other. And if there's missing contacts, it's not necessarily lost points for anybody in particular. It's just kind of some people have to go on and check like manually or whatever. So yeah, always submit a log.
All right.
There's another reason why you should always submit the log, is that you never know what the results might actually end up being. Bob, K0NR, this is one of my favorite stories. Bob's K0NR out in Colorado got on one of the ARRL VHF contests. This is a few years ago, and he set up a small 70 centimeter Yagi for the VHF contest, and he made like 5 contacts, and for the whole thing. And he sent in his log, and he won the division in his entry category. So you never know. You never know. I mean, he won a plaque because of that.
Wow.
5 QSO effort.
That's funny.
So
that's funny.
Always turn in your log. You might be surprised how you do.
All right. Some of these, I'm not sure exactly where they're going with them, but I'll read them and we'll see if we can suss it out. So question, when trying to get youth involved in contesting, where do I go to let them escape the 595973 boredom? The kids, scouts, Cub Scouts, well, they're younger, so okay, maybe that's part of it. On my end, don't get the point. Well, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Sterling, can you go take your camera back in that college station and show us all the kids that don't get the point of?
Yeah. Do you guys understand the point of contesting?
Why are you doing these 5959 shenanigans? What's
do you
with
think
the
this is boring?
Is this boring?
No.
Great. I don't understand it, but it's fun.
You don't understand
Good answer. Good answer.
Yeah.
I would say, if you want to get away from the 5.9 boredom, I would actually consider doing the June VHF QSO party, because there's no signal report required for that.
Well, Ward was mentioning sweepstakes, no signal report.
Sweepstakes, there's no signal report in that either.
There you go.
The North American QSO parties, the exchange is your first name and your state.
Mm-hmm.
So if you put that kind of a geographic spin on it, where the exchange is a grid square or a state or some other geographic unit, that becomes something that is very easy to grasp for anybody, because everybody, you might not know what a grid square is, but you can certainly put a map up in front of them and show people where, the contacts are being made. But everybody knows what a state is. Oh, that guy's name is Bob and he's in Maryland. Okay, I can relate to that.
Yes, yes, indeed. I don't think anybody has an answer for this one, but question, how do we get more contesters submitting their logs to LOTW? I have a lot of contest contacts that have never been acknowledged, particularly DX. The DX ones are like, get them on the internet, guys. We need those contacts in our logs.
If you can figure it out, let me know.
Right, yeah. Don, I think you ask me this question every time we talk about contesting or DXing or anything like that. It's like, how do I get those DX contacts landed in my book? It's tough. Don asked another question. Are there any AM contests? I didn't even think about that, but is there?
There are. Believe it or not,
it's got to be like a Heath Kit or a old Collins club contest, something like that.
There's an organization called the Antique Wireless Association, and they are the ones who do the AM competitions. It is a very casual event. It is not like CQ Worldwide or ARRL Sweepstakes where it's go, 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 go.
Right.
I mean, the people who are interested in AM and AM contesting, they enjoy having a bit of a chat and talking about their gear, as they should, because some of that gear is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
So check out the Antique Wireless Association gears events. I think there's a couple of other organizations that do AM contesting, but the Antique Wireless Association is the big one.
Very good. This is a great one because everybody's going to have a different answer for this one, possibly. Question, how do you keep track of which stations you have worked when doing search and pounce? This is really a logger question in the back end.
Sterling, you want to go for it?
Sterling, you go first. What logger do you use for contesting? We'll all answer this question.
Yeah, so if you work a station and then you try to work them again later, it'll show up as a gray, an N1MM. If you try to work them, it might even say dupe, DUP, as in duplicate. So there are some contests, like if you change bands, you can work a station again twice. Mm-hmm. But generally, like the main contest loggers that are out there in through JFP, N1MM, TW log, I think all of them will, analyze the log rules and make sure you're not working.
So then you tell us, what log do you use for contesting?
N1MM.
N1MM.
Yeah.
Sean,
N1MM, hands down.
N1MM, hands down. So I'll just say both of these people are much more better contesters than I am. I've not participated in many, but I use N3FJP because it's simple.
There is nothing wrong with N3FJP. I use AC log as my main general purpose log, and I love it. But
same here.
I prefer N1MM.
I just like the fact I can go to their website and just say, I am doing that contest, and I click on it and I download it, and then that's it. It's like that. It's all right there. It's all squared out for me. And literally I could show, hold on, I'll show you the screen. Let's show everybody. This is it above me. Like right here, this is all the exchange. Call, your number, meaning the number of contacts, your prefix, so I'm LAX, your check number, and then the section. That's it. And I literally can't screw that up. Yep. And I need that. I need training wheels.
The interface. So when you really get into it and you really want like specific statistics or granularity and how you move your windows around, that's where N1MM shines. But actually, N3GFP, like I really prefer them for things like field day because they have a lot, like quite a bit better in terms of like displaying their data. Like they have a map that shows like the states filled in and all that stuff. But Kyle, if you pull Kyle back in, he'll tell you all about his dashboard. That's going to have all that cool information, and that pulls from N1MM. So you can have. We
have had Kyle on to talk about Node-RED. We'll probably have him back on in the future to hit that up again. But I guess we should ask Sean, does he have the dashboard up for everybody in the shack right now?
It's sitting in the dining room right now. We're all gathered around the table, whoever's not operating, and we're watching that thing like a hawk.
I love it.
It's updating every second with new data, and it's fun. Like being able to do that level of data analysis in real time is a blast.
So there's a question from Levi. Thoughts on speed versus slowness in saying your call sign for clarity? I guess it depends on the call sign, right?
There are so many variables with that. It depends on the call sign. It depends on the timbre of your personal voice. There are so many factors involved with that. The bottom line, though, is do what you have to do to enunciate clearly, whether that means speaking fast or slow, whatever you need to do to speak clearly, do it.
And don't yell. Don't scream into the microphone. That doesn't help. And one of the things you learn if you get used to contesting is you learn to understand how hard the operator, like you don't really understand what the noise level of the other side sounds like to you.
Right.
But over time you kind of get it. And if they really are struggling, or if you can hear a station that's very faintly interfering, but like just off the edge, that might be booming on their side. So you kind of learn to weave yourself in, especially if there's a lot of lightning crashes. You'll have to like repeat yourself like slowly or quickly. It all depends, and it just kind of it's a technique you kind of work on. And there's personality in it too. Like a lot of people do it their way, and it works for them. So
something else about not yelling into the microphone. I mean, not only does it distort your audio and make it that much more difficult to understand you, but it wears you out.
Yeah.
So, you don't. It doesn't make your radio better. It doesn't improve anything on the output.
You don't get more power.
You don't yet. You can't turbocharge your RF by yelling into the microphone. If I could, I'd be great at it because I could just bellow. But that doesn't work that way at all. Question for Kyle: how close is Kyle? How close is Kyle?
Hey Kyle, where are you at?
Kyle, Kyle? There's a question for you, bud.
Got a question for you. Where's the unicorn head, Kyle?
The unicorn head did not make the journey, but maybe next time we will. The unicorn head will make its appearance at Hamvention or a Hamcation. So come to Hamcation, you can hear the unicorn head.
I feel like, Kyle, that's something that should just roll in your everyday carry. It should just be a part of your everyday rolling around. You'll never know when a moment's going to open up for you to put that thing on.
You got a point, Josh. Maybe I'll stuff it in my bag later and make it my EDC.
All right. Interesting one. Question. This is from Alan. Question. For operators who are having trouble completing the contact because of noise / weak signal, how long should you try before moving on to the next contact?
Boy, that's a good question. And there is no one answer to that.
Sure.
For me personally, and some of this also depends on how seriously I'm competing in the event. If I'm just a Sunday driver, for example, and I'm just getting on the air for a few hours to have a little bit of fun, I might be willing to invest more time in one specific contact because it's a state that I need or some rare location, or I just may want to have the challenge of trying to crack a pileup on that particular day, whatever the case may be. If I'm in it for blood and I'm really trying to get a high score, I'm not going to waste much time trying to call a station. If I don't get in within, say, 2 or 3 calls, I'm on to the next one. I don't have time.
How about you,
Unless-
Sterling? You got
unless
thoughts?
it's
Or
an
Nancy? Yeah, go
appointment.
for it.
Yeah, unless it's like a qualifier, you really want to get that.
Yeah. Although getting back to the quality of the contest software that we use, one of the things that N1MM and other software packages feature this as well, is it will tell you at the bottom, say you're trying to work a new multiplier, for example, a new section in sweepstakes.
Mhm.
And the software will tell you this multiplier is worth 5 minutes of your time.
Yeah.
If you spend more than 5 minutes on it, you are in a losing proposition points wise for the serious competitor.
That's definitely
so
an N1MM.
That's a real good barometer
Yeah,
to have
that's
right on your screen.
That's
helpful.
very helpful. Yeah, I didn't even think that was a thing, but is that basically what your Q rate is? It's based off of what your cycle time is for contacts?
Absolutely.
And then
Yep.
does it factor in the other call sign, how they're making contacts, or just what your rate is?
That's just your rate.
Okay, just your rate. Okay. But so everybody watching that's new at this, there's speed. This is all about speed and booking contacts and locking them in. And so if you have a high Q rate, right, and you'll start running a balance, almost like you're carrying a balance, or you're in the red, right, for how fast you're making contacts versus the other. So you could be just killing it, and you got a little buffer there that you could still be working contacts and still keep your Q rate up. Am I explaining that correctly to kind of a new person? Okay.
Yeah. But it's not just about speed, it's also about efficiency, because if you don't log the information correctly, you don't get points for that contact, and that will detract from your score.
Well,
so it's the combination of speed and efficiency in copying the exchange information from the stations that you work. And this particular contest that we're doing now, the ARRL sweepstakes, has the most complex exchange of any contest on the planet.
Yep.
There are 6 data points that you need to copy for every single contact.
Yeah.
And if you don't get all of them right, you don't get any points for that QSO.
Anything you want to mention on that one, Sterling? Oh, go ahead, Sean. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'll let Sterling talk.
Okay.
Yeah, that's called a busted QSL. I mean, even for example, early in the contest, there's a lot of stations. If you're on a search and pounce mode where you're just kind of bouncing around and working the stations who are calling CQ, there's a lot of fish in the sea. So you don't have to worry about wasting too much time on that one really difficult. Unless they're a multiplier, there's a little more. So if they're red and N1MM, that's worth a little more of your time.
Sure.
But once you kind of worked out all the multipliers and you've just got a sea of blue or a sea of gray, which are workstations, then you can just kind of bounce around. But if it's like one of the last few blue stations and it's worth 2 points and it's the very end, a lot of times those really matter. So you have to work on it. For example, I was working another school station. I think it was MIT W1XM or MX or YX or something. And I think they had a lot of noise on their end, and they were trying to pull me out. They sounded loud and clear, like perfect 5.9 on my end. But I kept saying my call sign. They were like, again. And then I kept getting locked out by the person calling CQ next to me because we have that, one signal in the air problem for us. And I was like, yeah, well, I'll just move on to the next one and come back later. Because they'll be there. If they're calling CQ, chances are they'll probably stick around for, at least another 20 minutes. And you can come back and hopefully the conditions are improved or the QRM moved off or whatever. And one thing N1MM does, it will bold a station that so you type in their call sign and then you spin the VFO because you gave up. It'll bold it so you can remind yourself to go back and try that once you've kind of worked through the band. One of my tactics is I just kind of go from top to bottom and try to work all the stations and all the mults that I can, and I go back and for search and pounce. If I'm running, it's a different story. If the issue with running is if there's a station calling you,
running a frequency, meaning you're standing on. We got to keep this for people who are new to this, right? So running a frequency is you're locked on. You pick a frequency, you're calling CQ, right?
Calling CQ.
Yeah, okay,
the issue is like that person is trying to contact you, and it's kind of. It feels like you're making an a-hole move by saying, all right, I can't hear you, can't pull you out, try you again later, QRZ.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to do that because it's using up a lot of your time.
Yeah.
It's using up a lot of your time, and you might have 7 or 8 or 10 other people who are waiting their turn to talk to you. And you don't, you have to walk that line because you don't want those people to go away and tune away and try to work other people. You want them to stay there and try to work you.
Yes.
So if you spend too much time trying to work somebody who's really weak and you're having a really, really hard time pulling them out when you're calling CQ, there comes a point where you need to cut the line and move on.
You need to cut the line.
But that's the reality.
I like the analogy. You just need to cut the line at some point. You're dead weight. They're dragging you down.
You gotta cut the line. Man.
You gotta cut the line.
We're bloodthirsty.
It sounds like it. You gotta watch out. I think this will probably be our last question, and we can wrap it up with this. Another one from Alan. Thanks, Alan. Thanks, everybody. Don, you got a lot of good ones in there too. Since they mentioned certain multipliers, do you recommend calling CQ and asking for only certain stations from a specific state or whatever?
In my experience, it's not worth the effort, because
Yeah.
if you're a competitor and you're actually going for score, it doesn't matter where they're calling from.
Make them points.
You want to get as many people in your log as fast and as efficiently as you possibly can. Take anybody who calls you, work the loudest station that you hear, and then do it again 600 times over a weekend. And the interesting thing about that is you'll be amazed at the number of multipliers who call you. If you're consistent, you don't even necessarily have to have a super powerful loud signal. If you're consistent in the event, you will get people that will continue to call you. I mean, I've worked 500-600 QSOs running 5 watts in an event over a weekend before. So you don't have to be super loud. You just have to be consistent.
I should have you back on the show, and we should just do like a QRP discussion, Sean.
Okay.
That might be fun. That would be that might be fun, because I know you've done a lot of that too. So, Sterling, I think you wanted to say something. Go for it. His mic was going on and off, so I thought maybe he'd go ahead.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
So the background, like they're having a hoop.
Oh, of course. Well, good. That's what it's for. They're having fun. Go for it. Yeah, were you going to answer something? Yeah.
It almost, so at the end of a lot of contests, especially sweepstakes, you'll hear people like, trying to call out the mults or the sections that they need as a multiplier. And it almost seems like kind of an a-hole move, because it's like, it's not really going to help you. And a lot of times you'll hear like, say I need Newfoundland or Northern Territories. And I hear Northern Territories. It's like, I'm going to peek my ear and I'm thinking, oh, that's an NT station and I need to work. But then I find out, oh, it's just, another New York station who's trying to work Northern Territories. And it gets like kind of annoying. But like Sean said, work everyone, even duplicates. So going back to like, if you have a duplicate contact, and even if you say they're a dupe and they still try to work you, work them anyway.
That's still one of my favorite memes that I have, that seagull with you're a dupe. We already got you in the call sign. Okay, copy. We're a dupe. Please copy. What?
Honestly, it's not worth the time to try to explain to somebody that they're a dupe.
Yep, just log in.
The amount of time you have that exchange, you could have just worked them and moved on.
Yeah.
Just work the dupes, leave them in your log. There's no penalty from a scoring aspect of leaving duplicate contacts in your log. And most of the time, it's more efficient to just work them again and get them out of the way.
I agree. That's always a funny one for field day. That comes up in field day a lot.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Well, I think we're going to wrap it up here. Go
work them. Just
Indeed.
work them.
So I think we're going to wrap it up. Sean, Nancy, do you want to mention anything before we head out? We're obviously work you guys. Again, repeat the call sign so anybody out there.
So we're Whiskey 0 Echo Charlie Charlie this weekend, and we are going to be hitting this hard the entire weekend. This goes until 0300 Zulu Sunday, so that's 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock out on the East Coast. We'll be all over the place. If you hear us, give us a call. That'd be nice to work you.
I just want to mention this because I got the website up. Since we brought up the contest online scoreboard, your guys' station has almost clocked 10,000 points. They're right there. Whiskey 0 Echo Charlie Charlie, right? So that's
nice.
pretty good. Yeah. So make sure you're chasing them down. Sterling, anything you want to mention?
No, just have fun. Like, contesting is dope. There's like a lot of haters of contesting, and that's understandable. We take up a lot of the band for a lot of the weekend.
Sure.
But it's a really fun activity that a lot of people do, and it's like it's a niche in ham radio. So like, don't be a lid. Both for non-contesters and contesters alike.
Just in general. Just in general.
Yeah, and
don't lid.
Yeah, and be good humans, as Smitty Halibut would say, on the air and off. I mean, in our case, like, look how many people it's getting, like, into the chat.
Yeah.
It's as a youth evangelist in amateur radio, contesting is like my best tool to get people, interested in it. So as opposed to like chewing the rag and having long, drawn out conversations forever and ever and ever. But that's fine. that you do you, but like just understand, there's a lot of use to amateur radio spectrum, and contesting is a big one. Look forward to WRTC World Radio Sport Team Championship in 2024 in Italy. That's like the Olympics of ham radio contesting.
Yes.
So that's in the summer, and I really want to go there and try to make it a spectator sport. That's one of the things Kyle and I are trying to do, is try to make contesting kind of a esport, where it's like you can tune in on Twitch and see some commentary and get some shoutcasting and like, get some real competitive vibe.
I still want Sterling on the Jod Mannon-esque green screen drawing. Well, see, he went to 40 too early. 20 hadn't completely closed on him, so he lost some cues there. But he's hoping to make it up on the back end when he could put a stake on a frequency and not having to move.
Like, look at this. Imagine filling this room and like a contest.
I'm on the big screen. Hold on. I'm on the big screen. That's awesome. That's awesome. There we go. I got it. That's awesome.
So yeah, just everybody say bye to Josh. And
bye, everybody. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. See you on the Discord after chat.
Oh, and now the feedback.
Oh yeah. That's awesome. All right. Man. Okay, very good. And so I don't know a good way to wrap up the Zoom here. You guys are amazing. Thank you for being on the show. Sterling, Sean, Nancy, Ward, Kyle, everybody, thank you for answering the questions. We'll have you all back. I'm literally writing down notes on little things we can dive into. I think a Kyle and Sterling live stream would be fun to talk about. Why do people hate on contesting? Just that with Sterling and Kyle right there. We'll have Sean, Nancy too. We'll talk about QRP. That'd be fun. So, okay, guys, I appreciate you being on the show. Thanks so much.
Oh, thanks for having us.
All right. Well, good luck out there. Go get those contacts, and we'll talk to you later. Okay.
Thanks, Josh. Take care, man.
Bye. All right, everybody. I'm going to wrap things up. We're going to join the Discord here in a little bit. I am not participating in the contest, so I can answer some questions to the best of my ability. The link is in the description for the Discord. Feel free to join us down there. Maybe some of the folks, Sterling might hang out. I don't know if he's participating, and maybe Kyle just join us over on the Discord as well when they're coming on and off of their shifts that they're doing. But they're obviously participating, so we're not going to be able to take too much of their time. However, we have tons of people on the Ham Radio Crash Course that participate in contests, and a lot of them are going to be in the Discord after chat. So feel free to join us over there. It's all voice chat and text chat if you want to, and I will be simulcasting to YouTube and Twitch, so you can watch it over there as well. All right. I'm going to say a big thank you to the patrons. Thank you for allowing me to do what I do here and set up things like the antenna giveaway. Reminder, next weekend we're picking all the winners. I don't even know how many antennas are we giving away now? Well over 10 antennas, I'm pretty sure, when you count them all up. So make sure you take the link in the description to join the giveaway. I always like to do November as an antenna giveaway month. I've done this now for a couple of years, and the reason for that particularly is people in colder climates than me. I'm literally going to wear shorts, and I'm going to go tune up some NFEDs tomorrow on a video. But there are people who live in much colder climates than I do, and they need a little project, something to work on while they're kind of doing whatever they can't do outside, and antennas are always great for that. So a lot of these are kits. One of them's a loop. You can literally set that up on a balcony if you wanted to and still play ham radio if you're out in the cold. So I always feel that's a good thing. Radio kits, antenna kits gives you something to do when you have when you live in a place that actually has weather. Unlike me, I don't have weather. I sometimes get rain about 5 days a year. But yeah, also patron picks will be the vote will go out soon, and then we'll have the first live stream on the first week of December, and we'll be getting ready for that Christmas light video. I have to figure out what I'm going to build this year in the form of Christmas lights. I see Kyle running around the background. Kyle, are you going to say something? Did you want to jump in? Go back to Kyle real quick. Oh, was that a wave? Okay, that's it. Bye, Kyle. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of your night if you're not hanging out in the after chat, and I'll talk to you later. I'll play them memes. 73. That's right, Jody. Build them antennas in the winter months to keep the darkness at bay. To go from, what is it? Cabin mania? Cabin crazy? Shut-ins? What do they call that? I don't remember. A buddy of mine that lived in Alaska had that once. It's not good. Cabin fever. Yeah, I agree. Give contesting a shot. Everybody's screaming cabin fever now in the chat. No, yeah, seriously, give contesting a shot. It's a lot of fun. All right, guys, we'll see you on the after chat. 73. Oops, now I have to click the button before I turn the song off. That's how that